took the phone. This guy said, Angela D. Davis, C.L. Davis, Fort Worth Police Department. Need to get down to Petersmith Hospital right away. Your mother's been shot. Click.
You were never angry enough that you could recall that you would pick up a gun and shoot her.
That's correct.
She said, D, it was Cullen. Cullen shot me.
We, the jury, find the defendant Thomas Cullen Davis not guilty.
I've been in there 15 months fighting this thing, and I didn't know it felt so good.
If Cullen Davis didn't do it, then who did it?
Hello, I'm John McCaa. Forget O.J., the Charles Manson case. The real trial of the century took place a lot closer than you think and involved Fort Worth residents, who by the time it was over were well known all over America. Our story starts in 1968, a tough year. Vietnam War underway, a contentious election, Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy killed. But in Fort Worth that August, kindred spirits took the plunge.
I bet there's rich folks eating in a fancy dining car.
Thomas Cullen Davis was without a doubt one of America's richest men, gushing in Texas oil and the flashy lifestyle. Flashy Texas wife Priscilla to go with it. ABC Network would even make a movie about them.
I'm getting married today at noon.
Called Texas Justice. Peter Strauss as Cullen, Heather Locklear playing Priscilla.
Oh, God, that's just very nice. Woo!
With Priscilla came 3 children, Jackie and Andrea Wilborn from her second marriage, Dee from her first.
Jackie, Andrea, and myself, we grew up together, you know, and we didn't even think of ourselves as half until we read it in the paper.
Although big sister, little sister relationships can sometimes be trying, Dee calls Andrea easy to love, mad about animals.
Animals were just drawn to her. Lizards, parakeets, gerbils, hamsters, dogs, cats, it didn't matter. She was just an animal magnet and just the sweetest, absolute sweetest kid.
But Cullen and Priscilla's happiness would not last. By 1976, they lived under separate roofs with other people. On August 2nd, the judge in their divorce case handed Cullen a financial setback.
Well, I don't remember the details, only the bottom line. He increased my wife's monthly payments somewhat.
Up from $3,500 to $5,000 a month, plus more than $50,000 for her legal expenses and other bills. That same night, an armed man, wearing a wig, dressed all in black, broke into Priscilla's mansion home. By the time he left, Priscilla's boyfriend, Stan Farr, and her daughter, Andrea, were dead. A visiting friend was shot and left permanently paralyzed. Priscilla, shot in the chest, escaped, but all the survivors would later claim the man in black that night was Cullen Davis.
My brother Kenneth called me in the middle of the night where I was living and told me that there was a shooting, and I asked him who was shot. All I remember him telling me that Priscilla was shot.
And his brother wasn't finished.
I think my brother said, they think you did it, something like that. I don't recall the exact conversation. He woke me up.
Were you shocked to hear that you might be the suspect in all this?
Well, sort of course.
Why do you think that they would think that you would have done it?
Well, because, as I found out later, that Priscilla told him.
That you did it?
Yeah.
Dee, at a friend's house that night, arrived at the hospital finding a distraught Priscilla in emergency, shouting a warning.
Dee, it was Cullen. Cullen shot me. Tell him to look in the basement. He's got him in the basement. I said, okay, I understand. They'll get him.
Police located Cullen at girlfriend Karen Masters' house.
They asked me if I had a gun. I said yes. They said, where is it? I said, in the trunk of my car, and I went and got it for them.
never connected to this crime?
No, it had nothing to do with it.
Cullen Davis has always claimed innocence, despite the witnesses, despite a cryptic response to one detective's question that night.
On the night of the murders, he asked you why 2 people had to die. He says that you replied, there are some things you don't need a reason for. Does that?
Did I say that?
He says that you said that.
I remember that, him saying that. I don't remember saying that, but I could have.
Why would you say that?
I don't know, just philosophically speaking.
Philosophically speaking?
Yeah.
Davis insists he went to the movies alone that evening, saw Bad News Bears, and ended the night at Karen Masters, not the mansion.
Wasn't me.
You've never had a wig?
No.
Never had any involvement in any kind of plot, plan?
No.
You're absolutely 100% not guilty of this.
That's absolutely 100% right.
I was a frightened young lady. I had a lot of things to fear.
But D. Davis claims Cullen had a dangerous temper, could at times be abusive.
I would listen for how he pulled in the driveway. I would listen for how he slammed the door. I would listen to whether or not he spoke to the dogs or not. I would listen to how the door slammed or didn't. I would pay attention to how his shoes walked on the floor.
Very quickly, it boiled down to he said, she said, or rather, he said, they said. The whole world watching, hoping a trial would provide an answer.
How you doing, David?
Get it good now. Well, I feel real good. How should I feel?
All Texas watched as investigators gathered evidence in the 1976 murders of Priscilla Davis's 12-year-old daughter, Andrea Wilborn, and her boyfriend, Stan Farr. Davis had been wounded, along with a family friend, all carried out, they claimed, by a disguised, wig-wearing Cullen Davis.
After his release on bond yesterday, he checked into 4 rooms here, even though his lawyers are in apartments across town.
The combination of money, murder, and scandal attracted national publicity and moved the trial for the murder of Andrea Wilborn to Amarillo. On one side, Tarrant County's DA, Tim Curry. On the other, a legal dream team headed by Houston's flamboyant Richard Racehorse Haynes.
At noon today, the judge read a brief statement in court.
From the very beginning, as WFAA reporters told the story at the time, the defense attacked the credibility of the witnesses, particularly Priscilla Davis, with allegations of drug use and holding wild mansion sex parties.
Racehorse Haynes hammered away at his theory that someone set Davis up to look like the killer. He told the jury that Priscilla Davis lived in 2 worlds because of her Percodan addiction. She associated with scalawags, rogues, and brigands, he said, convicted felons who were involved with drugs, and she presided over them like a queen bee.
Throughout the proceedings, reporters and onlookers followed her every move.
They were so consumed with my mother's appearance, her bad girl image. Hey, guess what? It wasn't about her. It was about a 12-year-old child that was murdered.
Over 13 weeks, the most expensive murder trial ever in Texas unfolded. The jury deliberated just 4 hours.
Shortly after 2:30 p.m., jury foreman Gilbert Kennedy handed the bailiff the jury's decision. It was read by Judge George Dowland. We, the jury, find the defendant Thomas Cullen Davis not guilty.
Priscilla Davis wasn't even in Amarillo. She and Stan Farr's family awaited the verdict inside her Fort Worth mansion. Reporters assembled outside.
Priscilla Davis was informed of the verdict by phone, and she was asked for her reaction. There was reportedly a moment of stunned silence, and then she broke into tears and said, "I don't know except that he's guilty, but he can't hurt me anymore. He'll have to answer to God. That's one that can't be bought."
Well, I hope that all the money that it took to buy all the lies brings a lot of people a lot of joy, because that's exactly what happened.
Back in Amarillo, Tim Curry contemplated trying Cullen for Stan Farr's death.
It's always been in consideration, but I think you've got to sit down and analyze this case, analyze what the jury did, and try to figure out why they did it.
In the meantime, Cullen Davis and his supporters celebrated.
I can't tell you how good it feels because I've been in there 15 months fighting this thing, and I didn't know it felt so good.
What are your plans now?
Well, I'm going back to work. I'm probably show up Monday morning at 8 o'clock for work as usual.
Don't you think y'all take a few days off?
Well, I've already had a few days off.
There was never any doubt at all that Cullen, that we wouldn't be walking out. It was just that we thought it might take a little time.
It looks like I'm out of a job. I guess I got to go to work. I guess I'll start looking for a job, and I don't know where I'll start looking.
Racehorse Haynes wouldn't be out of a job long. A year later, he'd be back in court defending Cullen again. This time against new allegations he tried to pay someone to kill Priscilla, the judge in their divorce case, and others. And all of it was caught on tape.
Okay, what are you going to do with these? I'm going to get rid of them. That's good. Glad to hear it. All right. Who do you want next?
In 1977, the defendant in the most expensive murder trial in Texas was found not guilty. Fort Worth millionaire Cullen Davis says he did not kill his 12-year-old stepdaughter, never shot her mother, Priscilla Davis, or 2 other people in 1976. But prosecutors stood by their theory Davis was the gunman, was still angry at his ex-wife and the judge in their divorce case. And within a year of the trial, they thought he finally gave them the evidence to prove it.
About 30 close friends, family members, and associates were on hand as Davis's private jet arrived at Meacham Field. The welcoming party was a surprise for those who had flown back from Amarillo, where last week a jury found Davis innocent in the 1976 shooting death of his stepdaughter, Andrea Wilborn. The multimillionaire was greeted warmly as he stepped out of the jet and was led immediately to a private bus for a beer. Afterward, Davis talked with reporters, saying he hopes the past 14 months in custody won't change his life that much. And although some people charge that Davis's wealth bought him his acquittal, he says he bought an expensive defense team, and that's all. Davis is now free on bond, still facing charges of murdering Stan Farr and attempting to murder his estranged wife Priscilla Davis and Gus Gavril. That is, if the district attorney wants to prosecute him again. Davis still claims he knows who the real gunmen behind the shootings might be.
And I can only say that I had it narrowed down to 2 or 3 people, but I don't intend to go any further than that.
Why not?
Well, I intend to let the district attorney or the police do their own finding.
After that, Davis said he would take it easy for the rest of the day and be back at work in his office Monday morning. Rosalind Young, Channel 8 News, Fort Worth.
Right after the Amarillo not guilty verdict, Cullen Davis returned home triumphant. Quickly, he says now, his life got back to what it was before.
I didn't notice it changing a whole lot. I went right back to doing what I was always doing, used to doing, working, carrying on my life normally as I could.
Pretty. Okay. Now, you got it. Really? Leave it alone. I will. I got to get out of here.
But within months of his return, prosecutors took this undercover film of Davis allegedly paying a man $25,000 after he supplied photographic evidence of the murder of the judge in his divorce case and promised more money to have Priscilla Davis and a list of others killed.
I got to have an alibi ready for Art when the subject comes up. All right. So give me some advance warning on it. I got to go.
It sounds open and shut, but how did we get here?
Davis insists he contacted the FBI when soon after he returned from the Amarillo trial, a friend of Priscilla's, David McCrory, came to him with a plot to hire that hitman.
They said, go along with David McCrory. And I did, and David came up with getting rid of this judge.
But prosecutors claim McCrory contacted the FBI after Cullen came up with a plan. And that's what brought all of them to this parking lot.
Now, you got me into this deal. I got Judge Edson dead for you. Good. I'll get the rest of them dead for you. You want a bunch of people dead.
Unbeknownst to Cullen, it was all staged, the judge posing as dead in the photo. Within minutes, authorities moved in.
All of a sudden, after I leave, I stop at a phone booth, and the district attorney and his men show up and arrest me.
He wasn't the only one shocked by his arrest.
First I heard of it was with everybody else on the news.
Dee Davis, Cullen Davis's stepdaughter, was supposed to be at the Fort Worth mansion the night her stepsister, Andrea Wilborn, was killed.
And I could not believe it. And well, you know what I did think? They got him.
But to this day, despite the undercover film, despite the $25,000 he handed over, Cullen Davis insists he was set up.
So what was the $25,000 for?
I don't remember.
Okay.
That was, that's what I say. There was something about the $25,000, but I don't remember how that came into play.
Publicity moved this new case to Houston, where attorney Racehorse Haynes again defended Davis. Yes, that was Cullen on the tape, they conceded, but he was helping the FBI.
And that's what tripped David up in the trial. The jury listened to those tapes real closely, and they said, wait a minute, Cullen's telling the truth here.
Well, some of the jury. Deadlocked 8-4 to convict, the judge declared a mistrial. But for Davis, the ruling was clear. He was and is innocent.
I haven't lost any trials. Haven't been convicted of anything. I'm a Christian now. I personally have forgiven everybody. I did what God told me to do. He said, I want you to forgive everybody. And I did.
Forgiveness is an important word for Cullen Davis today. He's asked it of just about everyone involved in the murder case. Even, he insists now, former wife Priscilla Davis.
I said, Priscilla, I want you to forgive me for everything that you hold against me. I don't even remember what she said.
Yeah, she said, it's in God's hands now. At least that's according to the reports that I've seen.
I think that's right.
Some have completely forgiven him, others to an extent.
I have forgiven the event for me.
Dee Davis and Cullen Davis have had no conversation about forgiveness or anything else. Their opinions about what happened are unchanged.
You have to acknowledge and admit you're wrong to ask for that forgiveness. And so far, I haven't heard him claim any kind of responsibility for anything.
Cullen insists his pursuit of forgiveness is not about any guilt, but submission to being born again, ridding his life of false idols.
I destroyed $1 million worth of artwork, statues and stuff that was an abomination to God. Something like a jade pagoda, jade Buddha would be an abomination to God.
Some will always doubt the outcome of the trials, the sincerity of Cullen Davis's spiritual awakening. But for him, none of that matters now. His staunchest defender, wife Karen Davis, Karen Master during the original trial, passed away weeks ago to little fanfare. She left behind a quiet man, living a tranquil life, with no regrets.
All the people who've accused you falsely, you've forgiven them.
Everybody. No exception.
And you're at peace.
Absolutely.
But for others, there are still questions.
Who killed my sister then? If Cullen Davis didn't do it, then who did it?
There are so many loose ends to this tragedy. For years, reports have circulated that the movie Bad News Bears was not showing at the theater the night Cullen Davis insists he saw it. If true, that was never brought up in court. There never was a criminal trial in the Stan Farr murder case. In 2004, a death row inmate in an unrelated case named Billy Ray Vickers claimed he wanted to clear up what happened in the Mansion murders case, but he never elaborated before his execution that year. While Cullen Davis maintains his innocence, he has consented to judgments in civil cases with some of the victims. He says he's broke now, but not broken. In other words, the money's gone, but it's his faith that keeps him strong. Priscilla Davis died in 2001. With her gone, Andrea gone, Andrea's brother, Jackie Wilborn, deceased, Dee and Cullen are all that's left of the people who lived in that mansion back in 1976. And she says she's still waiting for that phone call from Cullen and any discussion about forgiveness. I'm John McCaa. Thanks for watching.